Every journey begins in the mind. A flight of imagination. A vision of what might lie across the universe. Or within the deepest regions of the subconscious. Dr. Edward Pretorius is about to embark on such a journey.
It's out of control. You've got to turn it off. Something's coming.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
I've had 3.5 hours sleep. Just sharing.
Perfect.
It'll seem like I'm intoxicated, but I am not. It's ginger ale. That's all there is.
So standard is what you're saying. Sweet Jesus. Okay. This week we'll be doing the science fiction horror classic From Beyond, starring Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton.
Barbara Crampton. She was in porn, right?
No, she was not.
Because that level of acting is so pornesque.
She did eventually go on to soap operas.
I was going to say, because the order goes porn, soap, TV, movies.
That is not how it works at all.
That's how it is in my book. Absolutely. Yeah, so she obviously had motivated herself to move just beyond porn. She was
very upsetting.
She was a little too comfortable having her boobuses flailed about and groped by a monster.
Well, we're going to talk about this. Trust me. Give us the 30-second synopsis of From Beyond.
All right.
So take your time.
Can you even do a 30? Okay. Scientists working on evolving the pineal gland.
Pineal gland.
Like supposedly that's where your third eye is, for the psychic powers and all of that.
Yeah.
Except that, of course, it all goes terribly wrong. Someone loses their head. Someone goes to the mental hospital. Doctors, hey, he might be onto something. Hey, guess what? Let's turn on the machine. Hey, I'm addicted to the crazy machine, and I want to dress in bondage and beat my own Christian, whatever, the 60 shades of tuberculosis or whatever.
Yep. Christian Grey.
Yep. And then, of course, there's a love connection, self-sacrifice, the end. The heroine ends up at the loony bin. The end.
That's all you need to know.
Oh, my God.
It's all you need. Well, okay.
Now, let me just ask you this.
Please.
How do you think I felt about this movie?
I don't think you liked it, if I had to guess.
Wrong!
You loved it?
I love this movie.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
It is just, it's not too overly porny. It's very porny, but not too porny.
It's kind of a splash of the porn.
It's not too rapey. It's not too violent. No. The violence it's very camp. So This could be totally something where you would go to the midnight movies and you'd be yelling at the screen. It's just that perfect where it's so bad it's good. And they weren't trying to be bad.
If you see our sisters Tara and Megan, just mention the pineal gland and they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
I think next time we see them, we just get this little appendage out of our forehead.
They will know. They will know. It's a sad situation.
I already can tell you what my best scene is.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Had you ever even heard of this movie before?
Who can tell? Barbara Crampton and Mr. Combs. They're in so many of these. They kind of start to blend together.
I like that he's Mr. Combs now.
Because I couldn't remember his first name. Jeffrey?
Jeffrey. Very good. Jeffrey Combs.
Well, you did say it like 2 minutes before, so it's still there a little bit.
I vaguely remember watching this. I think it was like on a Saturday night, 5 p.m. on KTLA, kind of heavily edited, obviously.
Methinks. Were you watching it with mom and dad around the dinner table?
No, I have these memories of nobody's home. Like it's evening into night. No one's home yet. Whatever. People are off doing things. So I'm home alone, and the house just gets progressively darker and darker. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because people aren't turning on the lights because it's just me.
Because it's you, you can't be bothered to get.
I can't be bothered. And then you're just flipping channels of the 13 we had.
Yeah, no, it's 12 because there's no number 1.
You're right. And so this is what was on. I distinctly remember.
But let's back up for a moment.
Yes, please.
We used to have the movie channel. But what happened? Why did the movie channel get returned? And we're back to 12 channels?
Yes, I was watching The Jerk when I was 7 years old, and I started quoting it to the local clergy. And you just can't do that.
You can't walk up to the priest and say, they call me shithead around here without there being severe ramifications.
And that was the ramification. It's a sad situation.
Back to 12 channels.
That's right. And I have the distinct memory of poor Bubba Brownlee getting killed by the bees. All right. I don't know. That's what I remember.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Who's that dude? Why do I know him?
He is a very famous actor, known primarily for the 1970s George Romero classic Dawn of the Dead.
The original? Oh no, that's Night of the Living Dead. It's right. Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
All right.
He was Peter, the African American SWAT team guy who goes with them on the helicopter to the mall where they hold out, and he survives. Spoiler alert.
They tried to turn it around and not kill the black guy as help was arriving. Try to mix that up.
Oh, what's crazy is in Dawn of the Dead, he doesn't look that big. In this movie, he looked like he was about 6'9". I don't know if the other actors are just dwarves
He
looked huge.
I thought you were going to tell me he was like a sports dude, like a football player or a basketball player, because he was a giant.
He was big. But again, go back and watch Dawn of the Dead. He looks, he's tall, but in this movie, he could be, Wilt Chamberlain or somebody. It's ridiculous.
Wilt the Stilt. All right. Well, here's a non sequitur for you.
Please.
Before Rona hit town,
yes,
the local community theater did Night of the Living Dead, where they would do a different scenario after each act. Like, what if the black guy didn't get killed?
That was very popular in Bakersfield, I imagine, right?
Oh my God! But they did so many versions of it. We were like, what the hell? And then, of course, the local community actors want to come out and talk to you.
I hate that.
And we were like, let's get the fuck out of here. We were trying to figure out to escape, but they blocked our exit to our car.
That's what they do.
It was Night of the Living Dead.
That's what they do. This is okay. As some of you may know, I was a drama major. I was in plays in college. I was in plays in high school.
I was in plays in high school. You can't tell from my ham bone.
But that being said, there's nothing worse than going to community theater production, and then you're like, God, this sucks. To leave at the end indiscreetly, and they literally have a barricade of the entire cast waiting to thank you for coming. On your way out, as you're going like, this is the worst piece of crap I've ever seen. And now I have to look you in the eye and say, oh, nice job. Amazing.
Great job. I never thought of that. Oh, my God.
Yes.
And when you get into the theater and you realize the only other people, because I brought like 7 people. I'm like, let's go do it. Yeah, support local theater. And we get in there and we realize the only other people in the audience were boyfriends, girlfriends, mothers.
Absolutely. I went to...
And the theater's almost empty.
Of course. Becky and I went up to Cambria. This is right after Mom and Dad had bought their first place.
Oh, Lord.
And
I've been to one of those.
We're like, what are we going to do? And there's a place called the Pewter Plow Playhouse.
We're going to get sued.
And they were... you're right. And they were doing a production of A Shot in the Dark, which I was vaguely familiar with. So, man, that sounds like fun.
I love The Shot in the Dark. Was it just like the movie? How was the Peter Sellers character?
It's okay. We're going on all sorts of tangents. There was a play called A Shot in the Dark that was very popular, okay? Blake Edwards took the play and said, hey, I'm going to make this a Clouseau movie so I can get Peter Sellers. So now, he kind of... The basic plot is the same, but then it's a lot of Peter Sellers doing Peter Sellers things. But that's neither here nor there. Peter Sellers was not in this production. Let me tell you.
It didn't have the Sellers vibe.
It did not. They were having a ball. The cast, it was basically all their friends were in the, people were like, just like standing ovation, cheering them. When somebody would come on stage, it was like,
encore!
Somebody would walk on stage, it was like Kramer from Seinfeld. It was like, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Audience erupts. Oh, yes. Amazing. Is that Willie? Willie! And you're like, oh my God. And there was two, and of course, because it's Cambria, the entire cast are 95 years old. Except, strangely enough, two actors. One was like 25, one was like 30. Okay, and I'm like, why are they in this? So Becky and I are looking at each other in this horror show, and then again, we're trying to sneak out, and they cornered, because again, they knew everybody else. They were like, who are these strange people coming? They're like, oh,
they're like strangers. Let's go get them. Sweet, sweet brains.
Totally. And as an actor, the one thing I never mastered was lying right to their face. Oh, it was beautiful, convincingly. Couldn't do that. So I'm just like, oh, thanks. So I had this tense look on my face. Oh, thank you. Anyway, this is neither here nor there. How did we even get down this rabbit hole?
So what do you say? Great effort? Or was it like in 30 Rock? Your hair, you look so pretty up there.
That's what it was.
The lighting was amazing.
Sweet Jesus. Shall we talk about From Beyond, for God's sakes?
Oh my God.
Let's go to the highlight.
There's so many good things about From the Beyond.
I have to say this before we get started, because basically the mad scientist has created a machine that will stimulate your pineal gland in your head, which will allow you to see, because there's evidently creatures that are among us all the time that we're unaware of.
And they're unaware of
us. They're right.
Like, is it a different dimension?
It's something like that. It's like it's like a sister dimension that we're among them, they're among us, but we're unaware of each other until you turn on this machine. It stimulates your pineal gland in your forehead, and then suddenly you become aware of these like fish blob things floating around, and they become aware of you and start attacking you. So it just seems like a bad move.
What were the octopus,
it's like a jellyfish
things, jellyfish?
Yeah.
What were they eating before?
What am I? I didn't write this. Who the hell knows?
I think who was that dude who used to broadcast from out in the desert from a bunker? You only got it like late at night on AM radio.
Huell Hauser? I don't know.
Huell Hauser.
Could be.
Coast to coast. I can't remember the name, but he'd always have people with, parallel universes, aliens, and all that. He would know about this. But let's just say, so the pineal gland eventually springs forth from like a butthole in the middle of your head.
Yes.
It literally looks like a hairy anus. And then this long, stringy, like, I don't know.
It's like a tube worm squirts out of your forehead.
It's like a Q-tip, so it's blobby on the end with I don't know, an eye.
No,
it sucks. What is that?
No, it is literally like a weird antenna comes out of your forehead. Because when you turn on the machine, it stimulates your pineal and makes it bigger and bigger and bigger until it literally bursts out of the front of your head.
And it wiggles around. And it wiggles around. Back. Like a bot fly. It has an antenna that pops out and crawls back in.
That is correct. So the issue is that, okay, Crawford Tillinghast is Jeffrey Combs. He's like the hapless assistant, essentially, who works for a crazy sex fiend S&M scientist who has
the most unusual body hair pattern that I have ever seen. I need to do a book on men and their body hair.
Well, he rolls in there. He's like, oh, the experiment works, doctor. The experiment works. He rolls in there wearing like Mr. Furley's robe with a crazy like dragon on it, like satin. And it's like, what is happening? And the moment he's in there getting hit with like the waves from the machine, he is basically like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is the best feeling.
It's some kind of an erotic stimulant.
It is.
There were some erection references later on.
Yes, too many, as far as I'm concerned.
Too many.
So now it stimulates the pineal gland and a few other glands, if you must know. So when Crawford is like, we need to turn this off, creepy Dr. Praetorius is like, oh, no, we can't do that. And then something happens off camera where Praetorius is attacked by something and gets his head bitten off.
Right.
So now the cops think Crawford is the murderer.
I gotta interrupt.
Please.
So Crawford tells the police they bit his head off like a gingerbread man.
Looks down the barrel of the camera, zoom in, bit his head off like a gingerbread man. I was like, what? I wrote that down and underlined it. I'm like, what in the hell is happening?
Yep.
So he's at the psycho ward, and then a new doctor who's done a lot of work with crazy ass patients. I don't know what her area of expertise.
She's schizophrenic.
Something like that. And she's like, well, why don't I take Crawford back to the haunted house and we can recreate the experiment. We just see it, just rule this out. And Detective Buford Bubba Brownlee just shows up. He's like, hey, I'm going too. We're all going to go to the haunted house to look at the crazy machine. And then the fun begins, evidently.
And then there's just everything's weird.
Yes.
Everything is weird. How when they go into the house, it looks like it's like a QAnon fortress. I thought the white supremacists were going to be in there. There's like 200 American flags, including the "Don't Tread on Me."
I noticed that. I wrote that down.
That's like the only paintings up there. It's America. Is this
America.
They filmed this in Canada or the Ukraine or something?
Yes, it was basically Ruby Ridge up there. I don't know what was happening.
It was Ruby Ridge, S&M sex dungeon.
Okay, I have to jump in because there is a lot of crazy S&M in this movie, and I was reading up the short story that this movie is based upon is literally. Is
it based on a true story?
It's based on a true story. It is 7 pages long, and shockingly enough, not even a hint of S&M anywhere.
Well, that does surprise me.
Shocking.
H.P. Lovecraft didn't have anything about bondage and discipline?
I mean, maybe in his personal life, but not in this damn story. Because they're hitting it hard. It's literally like they walk into some room with like shackles and like a trapeze.
It's 50 Shades of Grey. It's 50 Shades of Grey. It's exactly what you think. Nothing too crazy, but it's a sex dungeon.
It's a sex dungeon. And it's literally like, I mean, in Dr. Praetorius, he no Christian Grey. Let's be honest.
He is not. Again, the most fascinating pattern of hair. A lot on the shoulders, I noticed.
Yes, absolutely. He's got like basically a buffalo hump up there, where it's just full.
It's more like a buffalo cape, because it seems to cover his shoulders to keep him warm. It's a sweater.
It's a sweater. That's exactly what it is. I guess they felt like, well, we have to justify why Dr. Praetorius is trying to build this machine in the first place. I guess.
Well, first of all, the third eye and second sight, why would he think that would give him a hot boner? And I mean, are these the Cenobites we're trying to tap into?
Well, Crawford makes some comment like, well, the earthly pleasures no longer are doing it for him as much anymore.
That is the Cenobites. Someone just needs to give him the puzzle box.
It is absolutely true. It's a horror show. God. And when he comes back, and he's naked as a jaybird, but slimy, furry and slimy.
You saw his butt. He had a surprisingly really good butt.
And again, pushing 60.
The rest of them you can throw out. Yeah.
Pushing 60 at the least, for God's sakes. And so you see his full backside. Maybe had a body double.
Oh, yeah.
Can we hope for that? I don't know.
I'm hoping that's a body double, because actually, I don't know. It was pretty amazing. There was a Bruce Willis quality.
That's exactly what they were going for. Sweet Jesus. We are well into section, or as I like to call it, what the hell is this? I literally wrote down crazy S&M and underlined it. Oh, sweet Jesus!
Can I just jump in? Do we have to go in order?
No.
Or can I just shout
out random? Because that's what this movie is.
The best part of the whole movie is when Jeffrey Combs is fully turned into, I don't know, a dude who looks like he has a flesh turban.
Yes.
And the pineal gland, I don't
flopping
know,
around.
Dog wiener coming out of his head.
Yep.
And his girlfriend goes up and just bites it off.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that was the best.
He is basically like Dr. Jekyll, where it's like half the time he's totally rational and cool, and the other times he's nuts.
I wrote down half the time he looks like he's Norman Bates.
Right. Well, yes. So oh God. So the doctor, I'm trying to figure out what her name is. Barbara Crampton in this movie. She is now, because they turn on the machine, and now she's kind of intoxicated with it now.
Yeah. So now she's addicted to it.
So now that she's addicted to it, she's going into the S&M room and putting on like leather bustiers and straps and all sorts of people.
Smelling the glove. I thought it was Spinal Tap. Smell the glove and diddle yourself.
Don't smell the glove. That's my advice.
Don't smell the glove.
So in one of his fugue states, Crawford literally chains her up while she's like, no, don't do that. And he literally leans his forehead into her mouth. It's like he wanted her to bite it off. That's the question. You couldn't have been any closer. You know what I'm saying?
It was fantastic.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
She chews.
She goes up, bites it right off, which caused him to go, oh, well, damn, now I'm okay.
Now I'm okay.
Thank goodness you bit that thing.
Yeah. Pop that zit.
Oh, sweet Jesus. There's a great scene. He's at the psycho ward, bald head, because a creature came and tried to like swallow his head.
Right.
Basically.
So he just polished the dome.
Polished the dome clean. He was like Howie Mandel, basically. And then he went to the psycho ward and he escapes. And the doctor finds him. This is a different doctor. Dr. Block finds him in some room where he found a bucket of brains.
Sweet, sweet brains.
Is this a thing? Here's my bucket of brains that I keep at the psychiatric hospital.
So using his third eye senses, I guess anything pink is delicious. So in this case, it was some Abby Normal brain in an old bucket.
It was, and the doctor comes in, and I have to say, her composure, she's like, ooh, you don't want to eat those.
Oh my God.
That's not good.
It was her finest acting.
It will make you sick.
She was like crazy at the beginning, and now she's like totally compassionate and calm and rational, and then, well, no good deed goes unturned.
No good deed. So he seems like he's like, oh, you're right. What am I doing? And they get up and they start walking out, and then he like looks at her, and he's got like that predator vision when the pineal gland is poking out.
Right. He sees the pink, sweet, sweet brain.
Sees the brain. And he jumps on her and I guess sucks her eyeball out.
It was like when you get a coconut and you bust through one of the eyes and you can suck the milk out.
It was because I was like, what is he doing exactly? It isn't until later he attacks like a EMT, like ambulance driver, and you see that the guy's eyeball has been sucked out. It's like hanging on his cheek. Like
it's
Lucio
like those
Fulci.
Juice packs. That's like the juice packs where you squeeze it and it
pops. Yes. This is not something that's been established earlier in the movie. It's just suddenly he's going after brains. He's like, I got to get those brains, and I'm going through your eyeball to do it.
In the parallel universe, where were they getting all these brains?
Who knows?
There is no rhyme or reason, but it's kind of funny that way, where you're like, what? What's that?
Right.
What's that?
And, I mean, frankly, and this is gruesome and horrific. Really, you don't see much. You see like one eyeball. I mean, it is what it is.
It's a lot of off camera.
It's a lot of off camera. And frankly, it doesn't seem like he was very successful getting any brains. Like he just sucked out your eyeball. It gets on your cheek and he's like, well, I guess I'm done. I'm done here. Good time. Moving on.
It's true. We did not see any hollow heads.
There's no hollow heads. It's very sad. Oh, Jesus.
It was so gross when the pineal gland was originally burrowing out of his head.
That was gross.
Like swelling.
Yes.
What was that other movie we saw where everybody had like the lesions that would throb and eventually disgusting things would come out?
Philadelphia.
Shut up.
Thank you. No, the truly unsettling thing is what you're talking about, where they'd zoom in on his forehead and you'd see like a little sore, and you'd see the little pineal gland kind of poking out just a little bit, kind of moving around underneath the. That was a little cringeworthy. I was like,
I think sometimes it was like 12 inches long, but like thin, and it was dancing around during fights. Oh my God. I don't even know. Was there somebody running behind them with that thing on a fishing line and a stick making it move?
Could be. I mean,
it was not CGI.
It was basically marionette work. Is what we're thinking. There was somebody with like one of those little wooden cross things with the strings hanging down.
That's what I said. Like some fishing line on a stick.
I'm agreeing with you. And again, Crawford, I think he murders like 2 or 3 people in the hospital. This guy weighs 98 pounds soaking wet. I don't know who he's overpowering in this scenario, but it's neither here nor there. Multiple times they turn on the machine, and now creepy Dr. Pretorius is back as kind of a mutant version of himself.
Yes, and he keeps getting more blobby and disgusting. And then at one point, doesn't he have like a giant penis with a hand on the end?
Yes. There's a lot of weird, slimy imagery that pops up. And I kept thinking, it's like, because they're like reaching for the off switch, which is on the device. I'm like, couldn't they have the off switch, like, I don't know, in another room? Or, 10 feet away?
Half the time they were in front of it, and they would just not turn it off.
Yes.
They see the creatures. Why not just turn it off?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Let's have a long discussion with a blobby dude who used to be alive, who's clearly insane.
Yeah. Oh, no question. No question. I also have to make a point that there's definitely a Me Too moment in this movie, where crispy old Crawford is laying on like a cot in the sex room, which is where he sleeps, evidently. Did you notice that? I'm not sleeping in there. I need some Lysol before I even go anywhere near that room.
Oh, Lord.
So he's laying on the cot unconscious because he's been attacked by some extra-dimensional monster. And Dr. Catherine, now wearing her leathers, just starts mounting him. He's unconscious.
I'm not sure that's a Me Too.
He did not give consent.
Oh, I thought you meant like this was some kind of her revenge as a symbol of the Me Too movement.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
exactly.
I think she may not be in her right mind with the possession.
So, you saying it's acceptable if you get like, say, drunk?
Possessed?
If you're drinking too much, then you can just do what you want? Interesting. Okay.
But if you are in fact possessed by something from another dimension, we might have some leeway.
She's not possessed. She just has an overstimulated pineal gland. That's all I have to say on that.
All right. So you figure that's the same.
It's the exact
same. A couple of scotches.
It's the exact same thing, damn it. Later in the movie, suddenly like bees come out of the weird dimension. I think they're bees. I have no idea. It's a swarm of some sort of insects attack. And they seem to be attacking Crawford and Catherine, I swear to God, for 10 minutes. And they get a few scratches. When they turn on Bubba, it is literally 4 seconds. And he's just like bones. I'm like, what is up? Poor Bubba. I don't appreciate that.
Because the weird thing is when he shined the flashlight on them, the bees moved away. But when the flashlight shined on him, the bees all swarmed at him.
Right.
And you forgot to talk about the part where he was in the basement in a Speedo. And
yes.
The Speedo got wet, and you could see everything that God gifted him with.
And he was gifted.
And the water was cold. The water was cold. It was evident.
Yes. During Dr. Catherine goes up and turns on the machine while everybody's asleep. And it's poor old Crawford and Bubba have to go down to the basement and try to shut it off. There's some giant sandworm in there that they have to contend with. But you're right. Bubba is wearing like bright red bikini underwear, dancing around down there. What is happening? What is happening?
I don't know what's going
Poor
on with
Bubba.
that.
Rest in peace, Bubba.
He couldn't have been happy when he saw that.
I don't doubt it. Oh, sweet Lord.
We can talk about after Bubba was attacked by the bees, he looked like melted crayons. I think that was the special effect.
Well, it was that thing where it's like, it's his head. Like, clearly his real body's hidden under the ground, and there's like a weird like mannequin skeleton that they threw some ketchup on.
Exactly.
Yeah, very
It
upsetting.
all looked like melted crayons. It's like everything was red gel light, blue gel light, melted crayons. That was our budget. Anything you can get at the Dollar Tree, that's what we're going for.
That's right. Later in the movie, now they think Dr. Catherine's nuts because Bubba's now dead. And they're all back at the psycho ward. And the evil Dr. Block is literally like, you know what? Take her to the electroshock room. Really? She just got admitted. Maybe do some diagnosis.
She's too uppity. Don't you know? Women hate each other. We're always trying to pull each other down.
I think she's basically Nurse Ratched, where it's like, we're just cutting right to the chase. Right to the electroshock room. You gave me some attitude. How about a shock for you then, pal?
Yeah,
it's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I'm going to learn you good.
That's what it was. Even the random nurse, like, doctor, what are you doing? She just got here. I was.
That's my order. It's against hospital policy. That's my. Yeah, you go like I'm calling the people above you.
I know exactly.
Like,
I was just following orders.
I'm gonna lose my nursing license because you're a kook.
Right, because she gave you some sass. It's time for electroshocks. Is what you're trying to tell me. Very upsetting. There was one scene later in the movie, they decided to blow up the device. And I kept wondering, where did they get a bomb? They just kind of yada I have a bomb now.
They still haven't just gone to the machine and turned the switch. They tried to pull it from the basement, but it reconnected. They tried to hit it with an axe, but it reconnected.
Yes.
But no one actually went up to the effing machine and pulled the switch.
It's very upsetting.
They spray fire extinguisher foam on it.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
How about you take that axe and smash the glass? Hello.
Right. Well, you sprayed it with the fire extinguisher. It seemed like to shut it off, you go get the axe right then and there and finish it off. If you have any respite where it's not, being attacked by creatures from the beyond, you got to take care of it. Because literally he did earlier in the movie, he did hit it with an axe and wreck it after Dr. Praetorius got his head bitten off camera.
Yeah.
So who the hell knows? It's very upsetting. Do you have anything else?
It seems like the weird glass bowl might be a special order.
Right.
Yeah, I got something else.
Please.
Always with the licking. The creepy monster always wants to lick the girl in the face.
Yes. That's how they do it.
Is there which is so creepy, but there, as with life, there is no equivalent. If you look at guys' face, whatever, guys are always doing disgusting things to each other.
So they deserve
There's
it?
No equivalent.
They're asking for it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying there is no equivalent. They're always licking the girls, and it's so disgusting. And they're coming at you with the long fingers. And there's nothing you can do to a guy that is the equivalent. The only thing that scares men is butt rape, and that's it. Anything else, they're already doing to each other.
That's okay. Sweet Jesus.
Men, as teenagers, will hold each other down and loogie in each other's faces. So there is nothing you can do to a guy.
It's not things that we enjoy. It's not like, oh, thank God he loogied in my mouth.
Generations of men have loogied on each other.
Yeah, those are called bullies. Those are called. That's not called that's not consensual. Newsflash.
I mean, newsflash, I don't ever remember being held down by another girl trying to loogie in my mouth.
There's a lot of prison movies, women in prison movies, where it deals with just that.
Made by men.
Yes. We appreciate that.
And then they didn't want to get raped, but then they got into it. Oh,
what?
That's
we need to move
on.
on.
Women in prison movies always work because it's
I see. Yes, that is true. That is
lesbians are always hot because, they're not really lesbians. It's all for your entertainment.
Okay.
I got some more stuff.
Hit me.
I mean, of course, there's just things that make no sense. So the basement is filled with water, so you're going to go up to the breaker. with giant, like, I don't know, looks like power lines to power a city of Los Angeles.
That's correct.
And I'm going to swim up to it.
Right. Grab the power lines in the water. Good move. Good thinking.
Exactly. There's so many. I just want to keep calling it the pineal. What is it?
It's pineal gland.
The pineal gland.
Because it's shaped like a pine cone. Pine.
Except it's not shaped like a pine.
Well, the real
cone
thing is not this weird thing. I don't know what that is.
All I can tell you is this weird thing, and what it looks like is one of those deep sea fish that have the lamp that comes out of its forehead.
Anglerfish.
The angler. It's what it looks like is the anglerfish. But in this, it behaves more like the penis gland, because sometimes when it's disappointed, it'll go limp, it'll crawl back into the hole.
And you never see it go limp.
And when it's agitated, it starts bouncing around.
That is true, though. That is what happens. Shall we talk?
They just made that hole look like a puckered butt. By the end, I was like, "Is that freaking hair?"
There's no.
I realized it's a pucker. It's a pucker.
Oh God, it's a sphincter.
It is a pee hole.
Yes,
it is a pure sphincter. Is what it eventually turns into. And my final comment,
please.
The masturbating out music.
What?
The whole end credit soundtrack is the sound of someone masturbating. We start the show with someone masturbating in the prison cell.
Oh,
we end the music. We end with music where it's all.
The way we're describing this, I don't know how anybody would want to watch it after we've described it in such nauseating detail. This is not that kind of movie, guys. This is fairly tame. It's not all.
It's fairly tame, but it's so peculiar.
It's very peculiar
and campy and low budget. It's low budget. This is not Saw.
That is correct.
This is weird and campy.
Yes.
And the acting is so terrible that it is amusing. Not because they were trying to be amusing. That's what makes it amusing.
Very sad.
Tell the truth. These people were not playing for laughs.
No, I think that, I mean, there were things that were meant to be campy, I think. But I think the performances were meant to be serious.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so freaking sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Are you ready for behind the scenes?
Only if you promise to go back and listen to the exit credit music, and then you can call and apologize for doubting.
I don't even want to say about that.
And I had to pay $3.99 to rent
That seems like a drop in the well for this masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece. It is the Citizen Kane of his genre.
That is true. Okay, behind the scenes, Dr. Praetorius. That character is named after the evil doctor in Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, not Oscar Pistorius, who is also a monster?
It was not named after Oscar. South African Olympian, Paralympian, Oscar Pistorius. No. In the story From Beyond, the mad scientist's name is Crawford Tillinghast. That's the mad scientist. I think like the narrator had like a more normal sounding name. It was like Dave or something. So there you have it. Barbara Crampton kept the leather dominatrix outfit and sold it in a yard sale. There you go.
Oh, she should have held on to that. That you just gotta wait a little bit longer.
We gotta pay them bills.
Man, that would be in the Museum of Camp right
Somebody
now.
was smelling the glove. She said half off.
Smell the That's where they got the Spinal Tap album, I'm sure.
Like we said, this is based upon an H.P. Lovecraft story. That was only 7 pages long.
Would you say it's loosely
I would say
based?
very loosely based. Because it's 7 pages, for God's sake. Dr. Block, the evil psychiatrist, is named after Robert Bloch.
Not H&R Block?
Not H&R Block is the guy who wrote the novel Psycho. There you go. Why is this doctor named after that?
Well, I told you. I told you there was a Norman Bates vibe.
Well, there you have it. Let's see.
I'm hearing an echo. I'm hearing my voice echoed later.
I'm not hearing that, so I don't know what to say to you. Okay. The address of the house is 666 Benevolent Street. I don't know why that's important.
I thought you were... Well, it is 666, but I thought you were going to say
Mockingbird Lane.
Mockingbird Lane.
There was an opening scene where Dr. Praetorius hammers a nail through an unwilling female's tongue, and they decided, let's not have that in the movie. So they removed it. That's a little too much.
Too much. That's a wiener fingers good. Tongue
that is
nail
true.
Bad.
An interviewer asked Barbara Crampton if any of her children had seen this movie, and I guess her 13-year-old daughter and 14-year-old son heard about it from their friends at school. Your mom's naked in this movie. Kind of thing.
I saw your mommy's boobie and her big
Yeah, it was basically like she was not telling her kids about it until they came home from school talking about it. And then she's like, well, I guess I should tell you all about my horror stuff.
Cat's out of the bag.
Most of the main cast and the writer, director, producers previously had done a movie that you may be familiar with, Reanimator.
Yes. This is better.
I love Reanimator, though. I love Reanimator. I think the story is better in Reanimator, but this has got such off-the-wall, bizarro stuff that you can't help but enjoy it. Studio executives did not want to cast Barbara Crampton as a psychiatrist. They thought she was too young to be believable.
She did look really strange with her French braid at the beginning. Plus that rough acting.
Let's see.
Honestly, I can't believe she wasn't born. Maybe it was a different name.
They had a hard time getting an R rating in this movie. Like they want, the MPAA wanted to give him an X.
But it's fascinating. Times are different
because it really is. I guess it's themes, adult themes, perhaps, but it isn't like you keep saying porn, but it's not really that explicit in any stretch. You see her boobs once, I think, but that's about it.
No, I mean her acting skill.
Pornorific
level.
Good times. Where they filmed this, the production company had bought a castle in Italy, and they kept using it for all their movies, including this one. Like, they just kept, that was the thing, is this castle. They threw up some Don't Tread on Me and called it even, I guess.
I just want to tell you, I Googled Barbara Crampton, and I put porn, and all I see is Barbara Crampton nude, Barbara Crampton sex scenes. Barbara Crampton.
She was naked in a
boom, 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 boom.
This is true.
So you think that's one of those things like Pornhub is showing it up? Do you think it's where they splice just the naked things and,
right?
And
it's
put
basically
that
like
on a reel together?
Is what it is. She ain't that explicit, truly. Although there is that scene in the Reanimator where a headless body tries to perform oral. So good times. This is not a kids podcast, clearly, by the way, since we're going down this road.
Oh, you're right, because I went to X-rated videos, and it's all scenes from Reanimator, from Beyond.
Let's see. Director Stuart Gordon shot this film and Dolls at the same time. Do you remember Dolls? Of course.
Do I remember Dolls? Dolls is one of the greatest movies.
I think that's about it. That's all we need to... Oh, the production ran out of money before the effects of the finale could be finished, which is why they're just gross and strange, but not particularly compelling.
Yeah, I'm not sure how she got from a room in the second story in 2 seconds out all the way to the street when the house blew up.
Just flew out the window, I guess.
Movement. Yeah, trust me.
What else? This is one of 2 adaptations of From Beyond. There's a second movie that came out about 8 years ago called Banshee Chapter, which I guess has similar themes. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I can't answer that.
Well, there was something that said From Beyond 2017, so I don't know. Did they remake this?
Could be. It could be just another movie about From Beyond. I don't know. Good times. I'm not doing any research on that. Let's go to the cast. We've talked about it briefly. Crawford Tillinghast was played by Jeffrey Combs. You know him as Herbert West, Reanimator. He was also in the multiple sequels to Reanimator. I believe he also played multiple characters on Star Trek: The Next Generation. But I'm not going to do that research. Yeah.
What?
Yep. He's a very well-respected actor.
All right. Oh, From Beyond the TV. It was a TV series, and it was like an anthology.
Not the same thing. Very upsetting. Then we got Barbara Crampton played Dr. Catherine McMichaels. We've done a few of her movies. She was in You're Next, one of our earliest things. She was obviously in Reanimator. She was in Body Double. And I believe she was on Young and the Restless in the 90s. She was also in Castle Freak.
The Y and the R.
Yeah, good times.
Oh my God, she's fun.
We talked about Ken Foree. We know him as Peter from Dawn of the Dead. He was also he does a lot of Rob Zombie movies. He did Rob Zombie's Halloween. He did Lords of Salem, Devil's Rejects, things like that. He's still acting. He's hardest working man.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan
I'm not
of
either.
Rob Zombie.
I'm not either. We went and went to that Fangoria convention 1,000 years ago, if you remember.
I went only to see Karen Black, and I was not going to sit on that big old line. So I saw her.
We sat through and watched the House of 1,000 Corpses press conference or whatever it was. You and I were there with Rob Zombie, and then I went home and watched it, and I'm like, this is the worst piece of crap I've ever seen. It is rough.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes. And we have there
who love him. Who love him.
Love this shit.
Not I, said the fly.
Love it.
Let's talk about our rating. From Beyond has 76% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. 17 reviews.
And they were like horror review, Fangoria.
It's New York Times. Any
what did
Let me look at top critics.
Say?
Any top critics up in this? Roger Ebert. No, he gave it 2.5 out of 4. That's considered rotten. So very upsetting. What review would you give it?
All right, so I am going to give it 4 out of 5. Sphincter penile glands getting chewed off by Barbara Crampton.
I'm going to give it, I'll say 4 out of 6 slimy, hairy shoulders. How about that? Good times. I enjoy it, obviously. I give it top marks, but it's not like a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. But
it's not a good movie, but is a good movie to see.
That's exactly right. Good Lord. So you'd recommend it?
It's just, I recommend it. It's entertaining. It's campy. It's silly. It's nonsense.
It's pineal. Is what you're saying.
It will stimulate your pineal,
which is a real thing in your brain, by the way.
Now, anytime if I get any forehead zits,
that's what's happening. So there you have it. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. You may email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie@gmail. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc., etc. And Aaron, you are also on social media.
The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am on the Twitski and the Insta.
So thank you very much and be well.
Live long and prosper.